Hey up everybody, good morning and welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. I hope we're all doing well. It's Sunday morning, which means only one thing. It's time for the much fabled weekly watches. Now, just a little note before we start. Next weekend, next week, Thursday is my wife's birthday and also our wedding anniversary. See what a romantic guy I was, got married on her birthday. So next weekend we're gonna go to Morecambe for 3 days. Myself, my wife, my son and his girlfriend Katie. We're going to go in Nathan's car, so the wife and I will be sat in the back, being chauffeured about like the Lord and Lady of Blu-Roy Towers should be. So unfortunately, there'll be no weekly watches. Stop cheering you, like there's no need for that. So make the most of it this week, and for the weekly watches, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks' time. Right, this week 7 titles. Seven. Mixed week, as you'll find out. So let's crack on with this. I started the week with Le Mans. Le Mans? Le Mans? Now, a couple of weeks ago, I watched Grand Prix and thoroughly enjoyed it, and quite a few of you, Larry included, told me to watch Le Mans. It was a superior film and I'd like it far better. And respectfully, you guys were smoking crack. God, how to antagonise your audience, but there we go. Yeah, I struggled with this. Oh, God. I'd much rather watch 3 hours of Grand Prix again than watch this 1 hour 40 or whatever it was again. Now, for me, films live and die on the character building, and this has got none of it. It's shot sort of like almost documentary style, which the director, I think it's Kazin, he filmed it at an actual Le Mans race, so it has got that sort of like documentary feel, but there's hardly any dialogue. I mean, it's mainly all just the racing scenes, which, don't get me wrong, they do look breathtaking, but McQueen hardly says a word in it, and neither do any other characters, and you don't, for me, get the feel of what sort of people they are, and so I don't know who to really root for or want to win in the race, because you don't know whether they're good people or bad people. Yeah, I just got that feeling for it. For me, it's sort of like the cinematic equivalent of eating popcorn. You know, you put it in your gob and it's gone, and there's no fulfillment from it. So, yeah, really quite a disappointment for me. So, sorry, guys, the ones who recommended it for you, but that's just the way it is, I guess. Yeah, that was Le Mans. Now, next up was into my wife's collection. Yes, because I bought a Terrifier 3 for Valentine's Day. Yep, I told you I was a romantic. And we stuck this on, and it was all right. A week ago, I watched it, and I'm now struggling to recall much of the plot, to be honest, if there was much of a plot. Art the Clown, he's back again with a not so glamorous assistant killer with him, going around butchering, torturing, dismembering people, blood, guts, private parts, and all sorts flying all around the gaff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you've seen the Terrifier films, the first two, it's pretty much the same, and it's spread maybe a little bit thin for me now over 3 films, and apparently there's another one greenlit in production or about to go in production. So, and I dare say I'll watch that again and come to the pretty much the same conclusion. It's all right if you're a fan of this sort of stuff. You're gonna get a kick out of it. It's not particularly my bag. It's more Mrs. Blu-Roy's bag. I mean, a strange woman. Yeah. It was all right. We enjoyed it. I weren't bored. It was a lot more fulfilling than Le Mans, put it that way. Yeah, that was Terrifier 3. Next up, it was sort of a first time watch a Convoy. I've seen bits and pieces of this on the TV over the years, but I never think I've sat down and watched the whole lot. Yeah, Sam Peckinpah, Convoy, starring Chris Christopherson, who we lost, I think it was last year, wasn't it? Ali McGraw, Burt Young there, you might remember from Paulie from the Rocky films, and is pretty much Paulie in a driving in a wagon in this. Yeah, pretty much the same character. And Ernest Borgnine as a policeman. And this is about Chris Christopherson. He's this truck driver, nicknamed Rubber Duck in the CB radio years. You remember them, when all the craze that was when I was a kid. And Chris Christopherson, he falls foul of overbearing policeman Borgnine. He's sort of like a boss hog type character from the Dukes of Hazzard. Maybe not quite as over top as Boss Hog was, but that sort of character. And he falls foul of him, and the use of the CB radio, they form this great big convoy, this train of lorries and vans and all sorts to keep him out of arm's reach of the law, if you like. And yeah, it's all right. Very much of its time. I think it's 1973, if I remember right. And yeah, very much of its time. And it was all right. Not the greatest. Past a couple of hours. I think it's a couple of hours long. Yeah, not terrible. Not brilliant. Just all right, really. Again, another one. I think I watched this about last Monday or so. So not too long ago, and I'm struggling to recall a lot of it. So, yeah, that probably says pretty much about it as you need to know. Whether I watch it again, maybe a few years down the line, who knows? But not one I'd rush back to immediately. Nice shiny slip on it. Yeah, that's Convoy. So the first three watches decidedly average, really. Yeah, not a great start to the week, but it does pick up from here, especially with this one, Everest. Now, we were talking on the live stream, I think it was last Monday, and I've seen this film before, but not on 4K, and Ollie was saying what a great transfer, a reference quality 4K, and I stuck it in, and yeah, he wasn't wrong. It looks absolutely breathtaking on the OLED TV. Yeah, gorgeous, almost worth watching just to see how nice it looks. Like the different colours of the outfits the guys are wearing, and the snow and the blue skies when it's nice. But then when the storm sets in, yeah, it just looks breathtaking. And what a fantastic cast. Jason Clarke, Sam Worthington, Josh Brolin, Keira Knightley, John Hawkes. I like John Hawkes, very underrated. Emily Watson, Robin Wright, Jake Gyllenhaal. There's even an early appearance from Maya Goth in here, playing probably the most normal character that Maya Goth has ever played. Yeah, good stuff about these climbing expeditions, because I think in the 90s, to climb Everest, you have to join an expedition, like a proper organised tour, because from the days from 1953, when Hillary climbed Everest, to the 90s, 1 in 4 people died attempting to climb the mountain, and I think the death toll now is probably about 300 something. I think it's 340 estimated on the last count. And this is the story of these 2 climbing expeditions. They sort of came together and grouped together because they knew the weather forecast wasn't brilliant, and the guys that are paid to climb Everest, they sort of like merged together these 2 groups to climb the summit. And when they got to the top, the weather closed in really bad. There was terrible storm. A true story, and a lot of people died trying to get back down. And yeah, quite harrowing stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Like I say, it wasn't the first time I watched it, but Yeah, great, great, great. If you're scared of heights like and I am, so I've struggled with bits of it, maybe think about that before you watch it. And what I took out of this is that rich people are bloody crazy, mate. They pay all this money to put themselves in situations like this. I mean, I haven't got any money, but even if I did, I couldn't do that. I'd much rather be poor and sit in the comfort of my home and watch this lot behind me than play silly buggers climbing mountains. Yeah. Why do rich people do it to themselves? Just play it, pay all this money to kill themselves. I don't know. Yeah, Everest. Yeah, good watch. Enjoyed that one. Now, I don't know whether you saw in the week, Stuart George, he made a video uh, about films that make him emotional. Now, normally, I don't really, being the heartless git I am, but two this week got me back to back, which is very, very rare. So just watching Stuart's video, I might tell you about that bit as well. The first one being this film here, Three Came Home, uh, directed by Gene Negulescu, who also directed the 53 version of Titanic and How to Marry a Millionaire with Marilyn Monroe, starring Claudette Colbert, who's probably my favourite actress that I've only ever seen three films of hers now. I've also watched the 30s Cleopatra, she was in that, and Capra's amazing. It happened one night. I mean, they were both early 30s film where she was a young girl and she cute as a button in that. But this filmed in 1950. She'd matured into quite a fine looking middle aged woman. And anybody who got any recommendations for some more Colbert films I could watch, please let me know down below, because everything I've seen, well, all three so far, she's been absolutely sparkling, and this was no exception. This is a true story. Three Came Home, about an American author, Agnes Newton Keith, who lived on Borneo with her husband in the 40s at the onset of World War Two. And when the Japanese invaded the island, all the men were carted off to concentration camps, and the women and children were also separated from the men and also put into concentration camps. And this is all about whether they'd see each other again and how they were treated bloody heinously in these camps. Absolutely, like, disgusting, the stuff that happened to men, women, and children. And Colbert's character, Keith, she had it sometimes a bit easier than others because she was this author, and the commandant, the Japanese commandant of the camp, was quite a fan of her books. So she wasn't treated sometimes quite as badly as the other women were. She got off quite lightly. But this is taken from her memories that she wrote about her time in the prisons, and yeah, just harrowing stuff that gets to you and kept me glued to the screen, to be honest. And actually, the title is a bit of a spoiler. Three Came Home, because eventually mum, dad, and the baby were all reunited, and that was the bit that quite got me because it was quite emotional. Yeah, great film. I'd never heard of it before. Saw it, George's charity shop. Saw it for 50p in there. Thought it looked interesting, so I thought I'd give it a go. And yeah, what a terrific film. Yeah, absolutely great one. That I really enjoyed it. Three Came Home. Highly recommended. The second film that got me as well, back to back, like I say, that happened very often. Richard Jewell, directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Paul Walter Hauser as the title character. Sam Rockwell, brilliant Sam Rockwell in everything, no exception. He's wonderful in this. Kathy Bates, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde. And again, another true story. This is the story of Richard Jewell, who a bit of an overbearing security guard, always wanted to be a policeman, and he was that dedicated really to trying to do the job the best that he could, that he sometimes went over the top, shall we say. And he gets a job in security at the Atlanta 96 Olympics. And whilst he's on security, he spots a suspicious package, a bag under a bench that's been abandoned, and he alerts the police to it. And at first they say he's crazy, he's just being overbearing again, like, because he's got this reputation as being that sort of character. But he won't have it, and he keeps going and going and going until the police check this package, and it turns out to be a bomb. Then in the process of them clearing the area, this bomb explodes, and sadly it killed 2 people. But if it hadn't been for Richard Jewell and his dedication to keeping people safe, like, a lot more people would have been killed. And at first he's treated like the hero that he deserved to be, that he was. But then the finger of suspicion falls upon him, because the FBI believes he fits the profile of someone who would be planting this bomb himself, to try, because he always wanted to be a policeman, and try and get himself on that ladder onto the police force. And he was pilloried, he was dragged through mud on the TV. Wilde's character, she's a horrible woman. Like, she'd sleep away to get in the story, and she broke the story that the FBI were investigating him. Really, his life turned to crap afterwards. And he wasn't charged in the end because he never done it. They never had any evidence against him, even though they absolutely dismantled his house and took all his stuff away from his house to forensically test, including his mother's underwear, and absolutely disgusting the way they treated this poor guy. And yeah, it really, really made me feel for him. And in the end, as I say, he wasn't charged, and in the end they did catch the guy who did do it, who they probably would have caught a hell of a lot quicker if they hadn't been concentrating on poor Richard all this time. Yeah, disgusting stuff that made me angry. And his name was exonerated, and it ended well for him. But that wasn't the bit that got me. Now I'm going to tell you the bit that got me. It flashed up afterwards what happened to Richard, and sadly, 11 years later, 2007, at the tender age of 44, Richard died of an illness that I was diagnosed with this illness myself, and when I was watching the film, it was 2 years to the day since I was diagnosed. So it had already been in my mind that day, and it just brought everything flooding back for me, and then just made me feel again so sorry for Richard. And it just done me, I'm afraid. I've started to, now I'm just talking about it. So yeah, Richard Jewell, great film. It made me angry, made me emotional, and yeah, I'm going to have a minute. And to round the week off, Nebraska, Alexander Payne, what a director this guy is. Bruce Dern, Will Forte. This is about Bruce Dern's character. He's an elderly gentleman who is starting to lose his faculties, and he gets one of them flyers through the door. You know them flyers, oh, you've won £1 million as we get over here, and absolutely load of bollocks. But because Bruce is getting on and not as sharp as he used to be, he believes it, but nobody will believe him, and he's getting frustrated, so he'll just start disappearing by himself, like walking up the freeway, going to the address on this flyer, which is in Lincoln, Nebraska, to collect his $1 million. On the third time, he's brought back by the police because he just keeps wandering off. Son Will Forte says to him, look, I'll drive you to Nebraska, because he knows once he gets there, he's obviously going to find he's not won any money. But he says, I'll drive you there and you can go and collect your money. knowing full well that he's not going to get any. But it's just a soft and tender road trip that father and son bring themselves back together as they've kind of drifted apart. And on the way, they go and visit different members of the family, and it's Bruce Dern's character re-dredging up the past. At first, they're all really pleased to see him until he tells them that he's just won this $1 million and they believe it. And then suddenly, like, people's character changes when they find out somebody's got money and they act totally different to him, thinking they're going to get some of the loot, if you like. Yeah, real bittersweet, tender film, shot in black and white, that I absolutely enjoy. This is another great film. Yeah, highly recommend that one again if you've not seen it. Nebraska with Bruce Dern. Brilliant actor, Bruce Dern. Always has been, always will be. So that was it for the week, guys. It started off like that, but it went like an aeroplane taking off majestically. Thank you for watching. Do appreciate it. All the support, all the comments and all that. Been bloody brilliant. Give us a thumbs up if you like what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of this nonsense and see more of this handsome face. And I'll catch you guys all later. Ta-ra.